Hello, and welcome to the Cheap Seats. This is your weekly English Premier League show, but this episode, as always, is the FPL show, where we give you everything that you need to do for the upcoming FPL weekend. Gents, let me tell you what happened in my weekend. I forgot that the deadline was on Saturday. I was in the middle of the golf course when I realized that Arsenal's team sheet was out. So I'm sitting there going, "Oh, Teppo, I've captain Kai Havertz." But
No.
That wasn't a bad thing, was it?
Ronaldo, I ended up with 75 points.
Oh, well done.
What?
I know. So, but I'm Claudia Ranieri, so I'm tinkering again. But that's me. Otherwise, Dean, how was your week?
Yeah, it was
Outside
actually
of
good.
Spurs.
I was one of the guys that still had Ronaldo, so came good with 12. I finished on 62 points for the week, which isn't terrible. I didn't have Reece James, but that's fine. And yeah, up from 80 odd thousandth in the world back to 42,000 odd in the world. So good week. But now, as we spoke about in the previous show, Spurs assets are going to become a big thing to start taking into account. So again, also looking at tinkering and what I can do going forward.
Need to free up that 10 for Son. Because I can't afford Harry Kane.
Big time.
Cyrus, how was your FPL week?
It wasn't
Or have you
bad.
forgiven?
I've been seeing a whole bunch of improvements over the last few weeks, and that also helps with me saying, okay, stop messing around with this thing and just stick to some guys. And it's good to have also looked at the fixture list in advance, which is something I tend not to do. It's always like a week by week thing. We're like, okay, who feels good? Yeah, Salah, he feels good. I think I'll keep him. So
Says every week.
And the thing though is that there's been certain players I just haven't brought back in. When Trent was out injured, I made a whole bunch of different changes, and then he's come
Ooh.
back. And now I'm like, am I going to spend all that money to bring Trent in? Perhaps I should, because the strikers are an abomination. And when I say abomination, I mean Obama Young Nation. He's just
But he scored.
He's not that bad. He's not a bad
He's
option.
I mean, you'll see when we go into who's in and who's out. But I'm out on that guy. I've had enough of him.
What?
You know what?
Firstly, why do you have Arsenal assets in your team?
Yeah.
Well, because they're
That was a
generally
decent
cheap.
fixture run.
But there was also that too. And so I looked at him and I thought, okay, fine. Emil Smith Rowe, I had him for a while. He did absolutely nothing for me. And now he's scoring points for fun. But it was like when I was late on Harvey Barnes. These things happen. It's FPL. I don't know. But last week wasn't that bad.
Temple, how was your week? You're like at the you're no longer at the top, but you're there and thereabouts, just carrying us on your shoulders.
No, guys. No. I have a very embarrassing story. So, this is disgusting. Last week I was watching the games, and it was just after the Chelsea won 3-3 or 7-0. Mason Mount got a hat trick, and I'm looking at my team. I need to sub. Oh, I was watching Leeds. Watching Leeds play. I see Rafinha get injured, and I take him out my team. Quickly put in Mason Mount, which was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Literally on a Saturday. I didn't even watch the Sunday games, and I already brought in Mason Mount. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, brought in Mason Mount. Man doesn't play. Rafinha, who had a yellow Dorito, man gets 9 points. So it's not like I had a terrible week. I got just one above the average, got 43. But at the same time, it's just the way I made that decision. It vexes me. No more knee jerks with injuries. That's just no more knee jerks with injuries. Just wait until the deadline to make a decision. I'm angry.
Okay, TT Tips. Let's go with your team, your ins and outs. You have brought in Phil Foden. You're taking out Rafinha. Your differential is Conor Gallagher, which is he's so great. And then
So
obviously
good.
captaining Mo Salah.
So good. Yes, I transfer in. For Phil Foden, I have this principle. If you watch a player and you're afraid of not owning them, you should probably own them. And Phil Foden is definitely one of those players. Plays for one of the best teams in the league, if not the. But right now, Chelsea's on top, so we'll leave that up to discussion. he is the main guy going forward. He had a beautiful assist to Gabriel Jesus against Crystal Palace that was disallowed when they had 10 men. So it's not like we're actually lucky that he didn't strike this past weekend because he does have the quality. And City have a stupid fixture run later on. I think it's from Gameweek 16 because now it's United, Everton, West Ham, and then Aston Villa, Watford, Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle, Leicester, who have been looking shaky, Brentford, Arsenal, Chelsea, Southampton, Brentford again, Norwich. Like, how could you ignore those fixtures?
He's going to list all of the fixtures to the end
Because
Bring some Champions League games in there as well.
Yeah.
the only problem is rotation, but at the same time, he's so good. He's so good. Can you see anyone else filling that spot at the moment? Ferran Torres is also very, very injured, and no one else can really play in the front like
Not just
Foden.
a little injured. He's very injured.
Very, very injured. I think it's unknown return date, guys. That Dorito is red. So it's not nice. So yeah, and then in terms of the differential, Conor Gallagher has been ticking along quite nicely. Has a super high XG, and not just XG, XA as well. I tried to compare him to Wilfred Zaha just to see like what the numbers were, and although Zaha has higher expected goals, Gallagher has higher expected goals and assists. He does have those late runs into the box. We saw this weekend against City how that worked. Literally. So Cobham. Yes, a Cobham boy. He's a loanee. He's one of our own. But it's how he wins the balls in the press. He presses extremely well. And it put City under pressure, and that's where they got their first goal when they had 11 men. Then when it comes to transfers out, Rafinha, the Leeds team just aren't looking too good, and their fixtures are about to swing. If you had him, you should have held him for the game against Norwich, and then after that, you need to start looking for other assets because the fixtures aren't going to swing nicely. The injuries are just hectic for Leeds United. And the fixtures are not getting any better.
And then to get fired.
Exactly. Whoa, what? Whoa! But what about the injuries?
He's going to retire before fire.
Yeah, it's getting to the point. I was watching Leeds the other day, and I was like, no, we've reached our loco stage now. Literally we have. And he does that with some of his clubs around Europe, like where all of a sudden he's no longer the genius, he's now the crazy one.
Exactly. And then obviously Salah captain because I'm scared to captain against him. Quite frankly.
We're going to talk about this. We're so afraid of not captaining Salah. Cyrus, you've gone a little bit of Chelsea there with Kai Havertz as a differential, but you've brought in Jimenez, you've taken out Alba, and you're captaining Salah. We know that everyone here captain Salah. What was your rationale behind bringing Jimenez in?
Well, look at the man. Look at the man. He's doing it again. Also, I've had terrible luck with strikers, but it doesn't really help when, like you put in Lukaku, then things happen, and then you're like, okay, fine, I can't do that anymore. So I think for me, strikers in this particular season are just not necessarily doing it. Who's the highest scoring striker? Ronaldo, probably?
No.
From a points perspective?
Vardy?
No. It's not Vardy. It's Antonio. I think it's Antonio.
It's Antonio.
See, Mikel Antonio is not a striker, so that's also one of those things that really gets.
What do you mean?
I find it. Look,
what are you saying?
He's a makeshift striker who's banging goals. I don't know how it's happening, but it's happening.
A makeshift striker.
He's still a right back in my eyes. So I look at him and look. Jimenez is definitely the guy that I'll go with, and him and Tony together for this weekend, I'm okay. Like I said, I go weekend by weekend. But Kai Havertz isn't necessarily owned by a lot of people. Chelsea have got a fixture against Burnley. He's still the striker, so
he has to score sometime.
Look, for me, it's more about assists. I don't know if he'll get a lot of goals because he's really a terrible false nine. But I do think that when you look at the returns, like I suppose this is the thing. As soon as I take Aubameyang out, he's going to score points. I've had him in for a while, and all he's done is just looked at me. So I think I'm ready to let him go.
We thank you for that,
No.
Cyrus.
Conor Gallagher,
my
though.
team thanks you for that.
Yeah,
That kid
look,
is amazing. That kid is
he-
special.
I'm going to say a controversial thing here for a Chelsea fan. And maybe Tsepo's also he might just kick me in the nuts for
I
this
think
one.
I know what you're going to say, so I hope
Lord,
it
please.
is what I think.
Yes, Si?
Conor Gallagher is who Mason Mount wishes he was.
Fact.
Amen. I believe that.
Fact.
I believe that.
What?
Fact. 100%. 100%.
I
He
love
wishes-
Mason Mount, but Conor Gallagher is exactly the player that Mason Mount thinks he is.
Yeah.
Gallagher's got the shot. He's got the ability to arrive late. He assists well. He defends better than Mason Mount does. He doesn't have the same energy though, and I think but that's something that you could sort of work on in terms of trying to get fitter. But Gallagher is he's an all-rounder, and if he's not in the Chelsea team next season, they better sell him for all the money in the world because that kid is special. He's been special for a long time. That Chelsea youth setup is just incredible. I mentioned Livramento, if you remember at the beginning of the season.
Livramento.
I mentioned
Roja as well.
Oh. Cyrus, thank you for that.
Yeah.
The gift that keeps on giving. Livramento.
Yeah. Fantastic. And you'll see it with the likes of Tariq Lamptey, who should probably start giving you a little bit more points as well. There's a bunch of players who've come out of that Chelsea youth team who are really worth having on board. But when it comes to my fantasy team, do what I don't do. I've got Son there. I think Son's going to be scoring points for me again. And I've got Rudiger in there, who I think will be fantastic this season. He's just one of those who could pop in with a goal or two, so and get some clean sheets. But the rest of them, I'm just chucking it up to the gods and see what comes down.
Okay. So my changes, I made a couple of changes because I had the extra transfer, so I went all in. So I actually made 3, so I took the 4-point hit. So I brought in Smith Rowe and Tony finally, and I took out Armstrong and Benrahma. I kind of feel like we've ridden the Benrahma wave, and this is when he's going to start scoring. And I think it's over. I brought in Smith Rowe as my 5.5 midfielder. I also have Conor Gallagher in my midfield, who's also 5.7. So I'm trying to save up money for in case I need to try and splash out on a Son and a Kane. My front line currently is Vardy, Tony, and Ronaldo, which I think is probably a strong front line coming in. My differential is the keeper. I finally got an Arsenal asset in Ramsdale, only owned by 8% of people. I know he's going to start conceding now that he's in my FPL team, but he literally has silenced everybody. I am so impressed by him. I honestly think that Sheffield were horrible. Like, it just makes that Sheffield team look horrible because this kid is playing out of his world.
And Bournemouth the year before. So
that too.
Man's got relegated twice.
I know, but like, wow, that save against Leicester was like, okay, boy, you're gonna have to have him in. And per Tsepo's thing, if you're afraid of having him in your side, you might as well do. I was afraid of having Ramsdale on my side because I kind of thought if I do, it's over for Arsenal. But I gotta take the hit, and I did. Yeah, same thing with Ronaldo. I can't transfer Ronaldo out. I cannot.
Don't leave him. Don't leave him. Don't take him out of your team.
Because
don't do that.
if like this weekend, like
fixtures are going to turn quick.
The fixtures are turning. Game week 15. I am so jealous of you, Umpo. Because game week 15.
Chelsea, they've got City this weekend, and then Chelsea, and then the rest of it.
And he can score against City. We know how City are after Champions League. So like, I'm sitting there going, this man. Yeah, but
Ronaldo.
Maybe I need to get Ronaldo in.
If you can get Ronaldo in your team, get him in your team now.
Yeah.
If you can, get him in your team now.
So he's cheaper.
Because like
12.4
guys,
even.
He's the best player out of the drama and the madness that they have that side at Old Trafford. Dean, your team, you've gotten a Spursy effect there with the Conte news. Well, why are you selling Antonio now?
So, my front line at the moment is Jimenez, Ronaldo, Antonio that I had for the weekend, which Antonio and Jimenez have been great options and they've delivered. But I think, and same with you and Paul, I think the Antonio Benrahma points hauls are kind of coming to an end. And I saw someone tweet about it as well, that the new West Ham firing, or the new players firing in West Ham looks like it's going to be Fornals and Bowen, who are looking unreal at West Ham. So Bowen is like 6.3, so I'm probably going to look to get him instead of Rafinha pretty soon, because West Ham's fixtures also change pretty soon, or I think it's
game week
18
16.
or something. 16, there you go. West Ham become really, really good options. But Tony versus Norwich this weekend was very easy versus an Antonio against Liverpool. So freeing up some cash to also start. So I was originally thinking Antonio for Tony, and then I've still got Ismail Assar and going from Sarr to Foden. But now with the Sun, with the Conte news and Spurs, the little patriotic part of me, I want to get Sun in instead of Ismail Assar, which I think could be a really good option. I mean, you don't have to talk about Sun and what he can deliver in FPL. And then for a differential, obviously we all know Conte is going to play the back three, so you're looking at wing backs. Regulon is 5 million. Emerson Royale is 4.9. But the thing that made me go Emerson Royale, or something that would make me want to go Emerson Royale, is apparently Conte was looking at Emerson Royale as a Hakimi replacement when he was still at Inter. So Emerson Royale is definitely someone Conte likes.
So he likes him.
And
so that Paratici Conte thing was already
so I think
even with,
and also looking at what Emerson does on the field, he's definitely the better performing wing back versus Reguilon in terms of balls he can put in the box. Pace wise is a little bit touch and go versus Reguilon, but I'd back him under Conte. And then Captain Salah, no brainer, just because you don't want to get left behind the crowd. Although, obviously people look at it now this weekend, and he only got an assist, and are like, oh, but now Salah didn't return, should have captained someone else. That only happens once every couple times. I'd still back Salah to return every single weekend.
Who would you captain?
Kane and a Son now.
Well, but that's the question I'm supposed to ask you guys. You're the analysts. I'll give you some of the fixtures that look quite tasty. Okay, City United. I don't know if you would do captain. Look, if you want to captain Ronaldo against City, it's
I would be very interested to see. I will be interested to see what United do versus Atalanta if they play the back three and if it works, and then against City if they play the back three, because I think United playing Spurs and beating Spurs is no accomplishment. It's like beating Norwich. So playing that back three versus City and they actually push and actually attack, I think it's a very different system. And as soon as that back three gets breached, if United play the back three and it gets breached, then no one has any idea what they're going to do. And then I think it's going to be a free fall. So,
but the other tasty fixture is Chelsea versus Burnley. I captained Kai Havertz last week. He gave me 12 points, or 6 with the assist. Is there anybody there from Chelsea, from Tepo and Cyrus, that you would captain if you weren't wanting to captain Salah?
I'd captain Chilwell or James, honestly. I'm not even joking with you, because they can give you attacking returns. If you watch Chelsea games, just look at where Chilwell is in the last third. He's literally always in the box. It's crazy. If he gets one attacking return and a clean sheet, boom, that's 2 returns. I did that in the Salah.
2 weeks ago.
Which would have been a good idea if Ole just got his act together. Honestly, if Salah didn't score a hat trick, that would have been a brilliant idea. And it's an idea I back because I can see that is where most of the goals are going to come from. The front three of Chelsea don't look like prolific goal scorers. But they can set people up very nicely. When Hudson-Odoi plays, the wing backs are in action with the 1-2 passes. It's very good. Reece James can whip in across. His second goal was after Loftus-Cheek took a shot. He was just in the proximity and then took a shot. So more often than not, like it happened with Phil Foden 2 weeks ago, where someone took a shot and then hit Phil Foden and then went in, and then Foden got the goal. So the likes of James and Chilwell are good at getting those types of points.
And then the one big tasty game is Leicester versus Leeds for Jamie Vardy captaining, but I'm not too sure if we trust Leicester right now.
I don't trust
Well, one
Leicester.
thing-
I don't trust Brendan Rodgers. I don't trust Harvey Barnes. James Maddison might not even be a footballer anymore. I'm not sure.
Sounds like you have a personal
Vendetta
problem
with
with
Brendan
Leicester.
I really like Leicester as a team. I absolutely love them. And it's just sad to me to see that they just can't seem to get it together. And the players that they've got are fantastic. You know, you look at the likes of Vestergaard. This guy should be doing Virgil van Dijk type stuff. But instead, he's just regressed.
on the
And he's
bench.
just, yeah, you know, so you're just not sure what the heck's happening. Soyuncu, he came from nowhere, looked really good, got injured, came back, looked as if he'd never played football before. So I'm not sure what's happening at Leicester that just isn't clicking. And so, yeah, I mean, when it does, I'd be happy for them. Hopefully, it's not against Chelsea. But yeah, Leicester, Lord.
What
The
do you
one
guys
thing I
think
will
of?
say is,
Sorry, yeah,
oh,
go.
sorry. The one thing I will say is, if Norwich can score against Leeds, anyone can score against Leeds. So I reckon Leicester could run rampant.
Patson
You
Daka.
don't know who it is. Yeah. And everyone was back in Iheanacho, but he gets taken off after 45 minutes. So big rotation risk. You don't know who's going to play. Then Nick Vardy's always going to start, but then if Vardy doesn't return, no, you don't know who's going to happen. So it has the potential to be massive, but it also has the potential to be 2 points.
Yes, Tips?
What do you guys think of a Tony captaincy?
Tony versus Norwich,
against
that would
Norwich?
be mine.
Yeah,
Tony will
that's-
be
I mean-
against Norwich. They have
So,
to return sooner
these
rather
guys
than later.
concede goals. They just concede so many goals. And it is at the Brentford Stadium, the community stadium. You've seen the vibe there. Umpo, you definitely saw the vibe there in the community
Don't remind
stadium.
me.
It's difficult. It's
Don't
difficult to
remind
win
me.
against Brentford at
Yeah.
the community stadium. So that's not a bad shout. That's a very differential shout. I mean, you'll be backing the stats big time, but yeah,
It's
I'm not.
interesting to see how much Brentford lost by in this last weekend, and if that's
That
purely
was
because of Raya
crazy.
being out.
Yeah, I think
If
so.
Burnley
I
just
think so.
outplayed.
Yeah. Well,
No,
look,
I
David
think
Raya
Raya out.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Raya's just honestly, I was so angry. Like I'm so angry that because he's like 4.5. You just put him in, you forget about the
Leave.
goalkeeper spot the whole season, and then he gets injured, and I have to bring in bloody Aaron Ramsdale, who's not that bad. Either.
Not a bad shout either.
Yeah.
Not a bad shot.
But Arsenal give me more heart attacks than David Raya does.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, that's the default setting.
exactly. But outside of that, thank you very much, gents. Everyone, enjoy this weekend of FPL. Remember, Friday night is the deadline because Southampton and Aston Villa have a date to close out this week of the month before the international window starts. So that's going to be quite interesting to see. But outside of that, have a great week and enjoy the football around you. And finally, goodbye, good night, and lesale kakahiso.